bin and drop it off. But chances are, perhaps because I still buy processed foods, my milk comes in cartons or plastic bottles and things like that. So my trash accumulates a lot faster than I can go to the recycling center to do it. I don't go to malls, so I don't go to the Mid-Valley recycling centers, that kind of thing. So I want to try to, my green sort of efforts to be as sustainable as possible. So I guess my question is, how far are we from that time where, Alam Flora will collect glass only, paper only, plastic only, and just, waste, for example. Does anybody know? Anybody?
Okay. I know a bit.
That's a start.
I know a little bit because we were the one who went to the MPBJ, because we start with MPBJ because most of our shops are around MPBJ vicinity. We actually discussed about this, and then I don't know whether you heard about this group called Danida. Danida is actually a Dutch government-owned Danish, yeah. We work with them on green projects, and then Dr. Tang is the person that we liaise with, and he shared with us that the reason why it's so difficult for the government to it may be different now. That was like a few months ago. But a few months ago, the story was like this: is that because the government has a lot of contractors, and the contractors are very diversified. So every state they have different, and even within MPBJ they have different contractors and all that. So in order to get, it takes a lot of effort to get all this thing revamped. So it's going to be a long process for Malaysia. So he has studied this in details. Although some, like Penang, is probably one of the possible one. And apparently all this solid waste, right? We call it solid waste. The solid waste management is managed at the federal level. So the state's government doesn't have a lot of say in terms of the Alam Flora and the contracts. Yeah. So the other thing that for Malaysia, so unfortunately that is the case, yeah. And the other thing is that we work with MPBJ on so-called what do you call that? The kitchen waste management. We actually work with them to introduce how you can convert your kitchen waste into enzyme that you can use for cleaning and all that. Yeah. So we learned this from someone from Dr. Joanne from Penang, right? And she learned it from someone from Thailand. And then we thought, this is good, yeah. Your kitchen waste can turn into something useful, and then you can do it at condominium. It's no problem. So so we started this project with MPBJ. So I proposed this project to MPBJ. I said that this will be good, right? If you can so-called disseminate this information to the public within the town council. And so we work with this person from the I forgot. Anyway, he's in charge of the residential projects. So we started that, and then we did a lot of talks, and then a lot of demo. We went to Pasar Malam, Pasar Pagi, a lot of things, for just to publicize this thing that you can do. And then we even get someone to make this, and then we can distribute for free to the public. And what we did is that we told MPBJ came back to us, this person in charge. He told us that he would like to make this as a gift for people who pay their assessment fees. Okay, so if you pay your assessment fee within a certain period of time, and then you get this for free. So we convinced Beautiful Gates, the people, the NGO, and we convinced them, and then we went to teach them how to make it, and we thought that they can sell it back to the government, right? That is a good business for them to raise funds. So we had a bulletproof plan, a sustainable green project, we thought. And then so he proposed it to the top management, and then they decided on umbrellas.
On what?
Umbrellas.
What do you mean they decided on umbrellas?
So they do give gifts for people who pay their assessment fees on time, so
they decided to give them umbrellas.
So at the end they decided that they will give umbrellas. Yeah, so it takes time, but we won't give up. Yeah.
Okay, I'm a little bit stunned.
Yeah, I think I think you only have to be old enough to realize that this kind of conversations has been going on for actually a long time. And one of the tragic dysfunctionalities in Malaysia is the dysfunctionality that exists between local government and the federal government. So the federal government actually controls a whole bunch of things, and local governments, although they're well-meaning, are really not empowered to do very much. And I mean, my mother spent years and years working with MPPJ on all sorts of things. She'll have exactly the same story as you. And are we any more, and this is part of the local Agenda 21 program, which is Agenda 21. We've had Agenda 21 since the Rio Summit. We are no more closer to being sustainable than we were then. And you know, Azza, you're asking about the kind of big changes, and each generation, right, can go on talking about these things and doing this thing and putting a lot of energy and well-meaningness into these activities and feel we're achieving something, but until we really look back and see whether we actually have achieved something or not, there's no point just carrying on doing the same thing. And so certainly that's one of the big change levers that we need to grapple with in this country, is the dysfunctionality between state government and federal government. I know there's a government person sitting there. I don't know, Lavani, can you want to comment on something?
Yeah. Any other questions? It's about 9:25 right now, and it started a bit later. So just wanting to check in with everybody that it's okay to continue. Yeah? Hang on, Dr. McCoy. Sume, you wanted to respond to Steve? Yeah.
Yeah, just I've been hearing the same things a lot as well, but this is also where I think businesses can do a lot. There was maybe this was like maybe a dozen years ago. I knew somebody who said he had this business plan. I'm going to collect all the market waste, have a composting facility, make it private. But I mean, I've not met this guy again, so I don't know what's happened. But this is where people like yourselves, if you have any entrepreneurship leanings, there's so many business opportunities out there, right? Yeah, that's just what I would say.
On this business ideas, right? When we started doing this, and when we did a talk at MPPJ, one guy, he's from section 19, right? One of the market,
17.
section 17 market. He's one of the committee member for the. So he attended the so-called training. Yeah, we train them how to do it, and then so they can make it at the market and use it for the market. And what he does is that he sells meat. Yeah. So what he does is that he collects all the waste from all the vegetables and fruit sellers, and he brought it home. He has a big garden. Yeah. So he made it at home, and he started this business of selling the we call it garbage enzyme. Yeah. And then he it's small, but then it's something that he could do it at the sideline as well. And then he contributed the garbage enzyme for Section 17 market. So Section 17 markets, right? Apparently I haven't been there for a long time. So they say that it's a lot better.
So it sounds as if like when it's like individual movements, smaller initiatives where it's not really dependent on government and different levels of bureaucracy seems to work. Right?
Got to start somewhere.
Dr. McCoy, did you have a question?
Just a few comments, ma'am.
Okay.
I think this question of plastic bags, I think we also perhaps should do it both ways. Not only talk to companies and supermarkets, etc., but also perhaps to educate the consumers. And I think we need to work with consumer associations, I think. So I think if you can convince the housewife and the house husband when he goes shopping, he takes his own bag with him. I think that's half the battle won, I think. So that's the thing. I think in the long term, one of the things I've discovered as I've got older is that, and this is an absolute truth, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I've discovered this to my great pain, that I have great difficulty in learning new tricks. So to change the way we think and the way we act, we need to work with younger people. So I think we ought to return the education in schools and young people. So you should have an outreach program. Schools and young people, young organizations, young people. And talking about this functionality between state governments, local governments, and federal government, to me the logical solution to that, because we have a government that's been in power, central government that's been in power for 53 years, which is beyond reform in my view, the only answer really is to change the federal government at the next elections.
Does anyone of the panelists want to respond to that? Or? Yes?
Yeah, I think I agree partially. Because I think old dogs can learn new tricks. Maybe not all the new tricks. I know my dad, okay, has some difficulty with the computer and that kind of stuff. I think that's what you're talking about. But in the kind of big areas of life that we're talking about, I don't think it is a function of age. It might be a function of vestedness in cultural norms, but that's difficult. One of the things that I was hoping to be able to say is that we're actually, as human beings, we're hardwired to care. You know, the first question is, how do we make people care? Well, actually, it's really, really difficult, and you can't make somebody care. But the good news is that we are hardwired to care. So the ability for human beings, and in fact higher primates, to empathize with something beyond themselves is actually a part of human physiology. We know that for certain with human beings. We know that for chimpanzees and apes, and we think dogs as well, and dolphins probably, etc., etc. The problem we have is that actually all of us have AIDS, and we don't know it. So this is one of my new analogies. Okay?
All of us have what, sorry?
All of us have AIDS.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry to bring the bad news to you. No, it's definitely AIDS. It is terminal. So this is a kind of new analogy that's kind of helping me. So, well, I'm not talking about the AIDS that comes from the HIV virus, but I haven't decided what to call it, whether it's going to be social AIDS or cultural AIDS or something, but it is as life-threatening as autoimmune deficiency syndrome brought about by the HIV virus. And really what I mean by this is that naturally human beings have the capacity to be able to recognize, just like our own bodies, we have an immune system which is there to recognize something that doesn't belong in our body. And I think socially we have the capacity and the ability to recognize things that don't belong in our society, things that are not good for us. But we have acquired immune deficiency syndrome. So our ability to recognize things that really don't belong has been compromised. Do you get the analogy? And so we don't recognize things. We don't recognize that actually when we talk about my race, your race, my country, your country, that is actually not good. That is actually life-threatening. All these, the complex of problems that we're talking about are really problems to do with interdependence. Just because we're talking about politics. Interdependence. The fact that every year on the 31st of August we celebrate independence is antithesis to the kind of celebrations that we need to be thinking about in order to address these problems. And it's completely intuitive for us to celebrate independence. And that, according to me at least, you'll have to think about this, according to me, that is part of AIDS. That is our immune system not working very well. And if you were the atmosphere and you had an intelligent atmosphere, and if the atmosphere then looks down at 16 years of different countries who organize themselves according to